Premier, I want to ask you some questions about your work on National Cabinet. What evidence base did you base your push with former New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet to remove 5-day isolation on?
It's a National Cabinet decision, Ms O'Connor.
You led the charge with Dominic Perrottet. The public record's really clear about that. It was both of you who went in and argued for the removal of 5-day isolation. So,
and agreed to
did you have evidence?
And agreed to by the Prime Minister and every other Premier, Ms O'Connor.
I'm still waiting. Was there an evidence base that enabled you as Health Minister and Premier to argue that it was safe to remove mandatory 5-day isolation?
AHPPC and advice from the Chief Medical Officer at the time, that advice supported the National Cabinet decision, if my memory serves me correctly.
Well, that's interesting. If you've got a policy of forced infection, I'm sure that's true. But did you lead the charge with former New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet to remove 5-day isolation, knowing it would lead to an increase in infection, reinfection, disability and death?
Ms O'Connor, we have been working very hard and transitioning out of intense COVID environment, regulations or rules and regulations, if I'll call it that, have lessened since the height of COVID. That was another step in that. I'm happy to take this on board in health again.
Well, don't worry, Dr Woodruff is looking forward to having a chat.
Good. Please, about that.
Okay, so as you know, Premier, Tasmania has the highest COVID transmission rate in the country by a significant margin. And according to the most recent Tas Health information, and I noted what you said before about the importance of keeping children safe and well when you're constantly allowing them to be reinfected with a novel coronavirus, that is not possible. But for the fortnight ending the 25th of May, 5 to 17-year-olds had the highest rate of COVID infection per 1,000 people in Tasmania. Mm-hmm. Do you think it is satisfactory? Do you think it is responsible to allow the continued infection and reinfection of children with a novel coronavirus that is vascular, that causes long-term sequelae, brain damage, increases in childhood diabetes and kidney issues, along with a whole range of other compounding sequelae? Do you think that is keeping children safe and well?
Well, Ms O'Connor, you're really...
This is about National Cabinet.
Very important areas of responsibility.
Yes, where you've been completely irresponsible, but yes, carry on.
Well, National Cabinet have made a very clear decision, had all the premiers and the chief ministers sit within National Cabinet, including the Prime Minister. And, I understand your point of view around...
No, you don't.
Well...
I don't think you do. I don't think you've allowed it to sort of permeate your consciousness, otherwise you wouldn't be conducting yourself this way as Premier.
Ms O'Connor, I understand your view on matters relating to COVID and...
I don't think you do. I don't think you do.
I do. We've spoken about it and I've listened to your comments.
Have you read any of the research?
I've read a lot of research, particularly when it comes to the long COVID, matters around long COVID, which is why we've got our own areas where we're reaching into the long COVID support for individuals, which I announced in Sheffield last year.
So if you'd read the research on long COVID, you'd understand that it relates to viral persistence in the body. How can you get up in Parliament as the Premier and Health Minister and not confirm that COVID is airborne, refuse to, and then get up and tell people that in order to protect themselves from COVID, they should wash their hands and take personal responsibility, as you did last week?
Well, there is an area of personal responsibility for all of us.
It used to be called public health.
And we take
Before
advice-
public health was sidelined by your government and every other government in
take
Australia.
advice from public health.
And you ignore it. You take advice from public health and you ignore it, don't you?
No, we've always worked very closely with public health.
Is Dr Veach hiding in a cupboard somewhere in Tas Health? Where have you put him?
Dr Veach is still, well, he's not in a cupboard. He's still working, and Tasmania's Director of Public Health we've worked with the Director of Public Health along the way since the start of COVID. And very solid.
Can I just one final question on this line of questioning? Can you confirm, Premier, that neither yourself nor your Director of Public Health has taken questions from the media at a COVID press conference since July last year?
Well, I couldn't speak for Dr Veach. I get COVID questions in a health conference, in media conferences from time to time.
Very reactive, though, isn't it? You're not doing anything proactive to help Tasmanians minimise the risk of infection, reinfection, disability and death. What are you doing?
We're investing significantly in
What?
COVID Plus. We're still...
Once people are infected,
Just Connor, please let the Premier answer.
encouraging, of course, vaccination. We have a winter flu strategy, a respiratory illness strategy, and which we've launched last week. If my memory serves me correctly.
You know COVID's not just a respiratory illness, don't you?
Oh, no.
It's a vascular illness.
Mr Young.
Gets into every organ in the body.